Hi, this is Joey, and this is Fresh from the Grove. So glad that you're with me on Facebook Live today. And we're going to be talking about a very important subject that I think will make a huge difference in your life this very weekend, probably today. And the topic we're talking about today is looking at what is the number one thing that you can do for your heart this weekend. Well, really simple. I'm going to tell you the very number one thing that you can do for your heart this weekend is to take a nap. Rest is so important in all of our lives, and I'm going to give you some very specific reasons why rest is essential to your life, to your relationships, to your art, your creativity. So as you're listening today, I'd love your comments, I love your questions. I'm going to give you a really good idea for a book that's made a great difference in my life, and I'm going to be sharing that with you later on. But give me your comments, give me your questions, tell me where you're coming from, and if you're listening to this replay, I want to thank you for listening to it, and whether you're listening live right now or if you're listening to the replay, if you think that this number one thing that you can do for your heart is going to be helpful to someone that you know, just really encourage you to hit the share button, share it with your network. So I've already mentioned that number one thing you can do for your heart this weekend is to take a nap. Rest is probably one of the most essential things to a healthy outlook on life, to having perspective, to really revitalizing our body. And I'm going to give you some specific reasons why that is. But let's look at it from this light. Famous football coach Vince Lombardi once said, "Fatigue makes cowards of us all." And that's really true. I don't know about you, but when I am tired, my resistance level to the sweet things that I want to eat, I don't feel like working out, I don't feel like going for a run or a swim. When I'm fatigued, my attitude is affected. Fatigue influences how I treat my wife, my kids, my temper, my outlook, my perspective. When I'm tired, problems seem much greater. The mountains seem insurmountable. The obstacles just seem overwhelming. And so I want you to think about for a minute, what does fatigue do in your heart and life? What happens when you are tired? What happens in your attitude? What happens how you treat people? What happens to your art and your ability to focus? And so when we're tired, not only are we experiencing the physical detriment of fatigue, we also experience emotionally a drain of energy. Our relationships are affected. Our spiritual life, our outlook in our relationship with God. Fatigue just makes cowards of us all. So I'm going to give you some very specific ideas why taking a nap is important. Years ago, when I was much younger, I used to be able to nap for an hour or two at a time. But in the past few years, I found that I can only really take a nap for 20 to 30 minutes. But just that 20 minutes alone does this incredible reset in my brain where I may lie down because I'm tired, I'm fatigued, but then when I wake up, I've got a new boost of energy. It's like there's been a reset in my brain. Think about this with your computer. When your computer is dragging, it's going really slow, what is the best thing that you can do? Well, you hit the reset button. And when we hit the reset button, hey Michael, I want to say hi to you. Thanks for jumping in here. Good to see you, my friend. When we hit the reset button, our brains are filled with all sorts of these really healthy neurochemicals, things like serotonin, dopamine, epinephrine, oxygen to our brain. When we take a 20, 30, maybe an hour-long nap, we are resetting our brain. And when we wake up refreshed, well, gosh, what has happened? I'm suddenly treating my wife better. I'm not yelling at the dog. I'm not irritated as much as we would call it in our house. We have to, when we're tired or upset or angry, we've got to shrink the button. When we take a rest, our button gets shrinked So when people are pushing our buttons, it's not as big a deal. So let's look at some of the benefits. And if you're just listening now, I'm talking about the number one thing that's good for your heart this weekend. It's taking a nap. It's getting rest. I don't know where you're coming from across the country, across the world, but in Southern California, it really is the left coast. People live at a crazy pace and intensity. Probably the same could be said of New York City or Dallas or Chicago. But it seems like people are just addicted to activity, and they've always got to be busy, 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 and there's never any time for rest. Well, when you rest physically, there's all sorts of good things happening in your body. You're going to be a much healthier and happier person when you take a rest. So what happens when you take that 20 to 30 minute nap, and why is it really good for your heart? First off, it provides a memory boost in your brain. For those that, when you're tired and fatigued, you get groggy. Well, in that 20 to 30 minutes, when you take that nap, you get a boost in your mental performance, and that's a real benefit from taking a nap. I don't nap every day. There's some days that I will nap, but I can definitely say that around 2 p.m. in the afternoon when I'm dragging, just lying down for 20 minutes, it can reset my brain, and I'm much sharper mentally afterward. One great idea, one thing that I like to use, I'll use a little sounds app where you can listen to rain or water. It really kind of lulls you to sleep. And when I take a nap, sometimes I don't fall into a deep REM sleep. I call it just getting right into the edge of the envelope. But if I get into that envelope enough, it provides my brain that reset that I need. Not only does napping, is it good for your heart physically, this is why specifically, is that it lowers your blood pressure. And if you're one of these people that is high energy, always moving, going for the triple espresso, just always on the go, you are probably more likely susceptible to a higher blood pressure. Well, when you nap, your body slows down, you're in a reclined position, your heart, it's moved into a mellow state, and you're developing a much better rhythm for your heart patterns. I'm at a point in my life where I am not impressed with people who say how busy they are, all the commitments that they have, how everyone's pulling for their time. That to me sounds like addiction to activity, and there's a lot of reasons why we're always motivated to be busy, 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 busy. But the people that really impress me are the people that unplug, that take a rest, they turn off their cell phones, they get off Facebook, yes, even on Facebook now. They really have a rhythm and practice to their life where they're developing both the active side of their life, but more importantly, that contemplative, restful side. So not only does taking a nap improve your memory, give you a memory boost, it lowers your blood pressure. Third, what it does that is so essential, it just calms our nerves. And if you're someone who wrestles with sleeplessness or anxiety, fear, by taking a nap, you can sometimes get into that REM state, and that just has this incredible calming effect where your nerves settle down and you have more peace in your life, because by taking that nap, it really is a sign of trust, that saying, hey, for 20, 30, maybe 45 minutes, I can be unimportant to the world. I can unplug. The world doesn't need me right now. I can rest. And that is such a vital factor in your relationship with God, in your relationship with other people. Just taking that rest and just saying, hey, I'm going to unplug. The world doesn't need me right now. I'm not as self-important as I think I am, but what's more important is my health, my happiness, and I know that by taking this nap, taking this rest, there's going to be definite payoff for the rest of the day in terms of my outlook. So not only does it calm your nerves, it also improves alertness. And alertness is tied to what we just talked about a few minutes ago, memory and memory boost. when you wake up, you have a capability of having a 34% higher alertness rate. And as I started talking about the subject at the beginning of this FaceTime Live, we talked about what Vince Lombardi said: fatigue makes coward of us all. And so really, really important to take our rest seriously. And again, if you've got a comment, if you've got a question, I'd love to hear from you, or just a statement. I'd love to share it with other people. I will be mentioning a book at the end of this Facebook Live that has been really helpful in my life, so I hope you will pick it up. Next, for you artists and creatives out there, by being more than rested, more than adequately rested, you are going to enhance your creativity. You're going to have more staying power because you've cleared out the cobwebs in your brain. You've given yourself kind of a childlike spirit by taking a nap. Because, like, think about when we were, little kids, toddlers, or when we were in kindergarten. You didn't have to convince any kid in kindergarten. Maybe there was a few kids that would rustle around and they weren't much of a nappers. But the majority of kids, for that 30-minute nap time in kindergarten, man, I long for those days, because you just see all these kids sleeping on the floor. It's like, hey, this is what we do. We take naps. We're kids. And I have a little granddaughter. She's a 1.5-year-old, and she's coming over here afterward today. Well, right about now, she's taking a nap, because that's what little kids do. So why would we change that pattern as adults? I really want to encourage you. And I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you are thinking, I have no time to nap. Joey, you don't know my life. You may be a single dad. You may be a single mom. And you may be running around to Saturday sports, what I call cult sports, and we've done them all, from volleyball to soccer, all those crazy commitments and activities that we're a part of. Well, you're right. I don't know your situation, but I want you to think about how can you factor in rest as a part of your rhythm of your life, because it will really make you a better mom. It'll make you a better dad by getting rest. Sometimes late at night we'll be just channel surfing, watching TV, and it's the worst thing to do before going to bed, because it may keep us up longer instead of going to bed earlier and getting that full 8 or 9 hours worth of rest, so that we can really come at the next day strong. Okay, so not only as an artist will rest enhance your creativity, the creative projects that you're part of, it will also boost your willpower. Now, we are into February now, so all those January New Year's resolutions are out the window. But if you are more rested, you are going to have greater willpower to say no to whatever temptation is coming your way. It just gives you the mental strength to think clearer and to make choices aligned with your greatest purpose, your greatest values, your greatest commitments to God, to your family. So it really has an impact of giving you strength, greater willpower, because you have clarity in your heart, in your thoughts, and in your mind. Last, taking a nap is much better than just another cup of coffee. And I love a nice cup of coffee in the afternoon when I'm writing, when I'm working on some creative projects. I like that boost. But we don't want to be caffeine dependent, just stimulated by these chemicals. When we rest and take a nap, what happens is that we're getting all those chemicals reset in our brain, and we're going to feel so much better. So I hope I've given you some thoughts to think about why the number one thing that you can do for your heart this weekend is to take a nap, take a rest. Don't be addicted to activity or think that you've got to take on the world so much that you burn out and fizzle out, because, as we talked about at the beginning, fatigue makes cowards of us all. I mentioned a book I want to recommend. A very good friend of mine, Alan Fadling, wrote a book called An Unhurried Life. And in the opening line of that book, he states that he is a recovering speed addict. And he's not talking about methamphetamine. He's talking about the speed and pace of life that he lived. An Unhurried Life, it's a great book. It's published by InterVarsity. I'm going to post it now. really encourage you to pick up that book, because Alan talks about how do we live in a rhythm of life of contemplation and of rest, but also activity, and get in lockstep with the rhythm that Jesus had for his life. He woke up early. He got away from the crowds. He got away from the distractions. He went off to pray to his Father. Even in the storms of life, when he's on the Sea of Galilee, he's sleeping. He's resting in the boat. When everyone else is going crazy, saying, Lord, we're going to die. So Alan's book is a great book that really talks about getting in step with the life and rhythms of Jesus. I hope you'll pick up a copy. If this has been a really helpful Facebook Live, I hope that you'll share it with a friend. Give us a like. Come back. We'll be posting more of these. But have a great, restful weekend. Thanks so much. Take care now.